Hi, guys. My name is Theon Sims, and welcome to the Limitless Podcast. Joining us, as always, is your co host, Matthew Preston. Hail up the people, and Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
Excellent. And today, we'll be doing something a bit different. And we kind of did one already where we spoke about $100 million portfolio. So I'm thinking of making this like a series where let's call it like the portfolio series, right? The Limitless Portfolio series. But this time, as you guys can probably tell from the title or the thumbnail, we're actually being a lot more conservative because we don't have $100 million. So we'll be doing 100,000 Jamaican dollars, right?
Mhm.
And I guess we'll both be picking some stocks that we think would be in our $100,000 portfolio.
Mhm.
And we'll probably, I don't know, it's all a freestyle. We'll probably set a target,
Mhm.
maybe for the end of the
30%?
year, 30% for the end of the year.
Mm.
I think that's feasible.
Or
30
earlier.
or earlier, but the target's for the end of the year. If we beat it, we beat
Mhm.
it. But
Mhm.
and I guess I want you to do one as well, Preston. I'll
Mhm.
also do one, and we're freestyling this because we clearly didn't really think of. Well, I have a short list of stocks, but I haven't
Mhm.
actually thought what would actually go in a portfolio like that.
Mhm.
Do you remember what your mindset was like? You remember when you actually just had $100,000 in your portfolio?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was
You?
just yesterday for me,
Mhm.
Yeah, no. I mean, for me, when that happened was actually when I was fortunate. It's when I just started investing. I
Mhm.
remember I only had I had a bit more than 50 grand in my bank account, but I took 50 grand out
Mhm. Mhm.
and invested it all in one stock, and that was Wigton 2019 when it IPO'd.
Wow.
And that doubled off my first stock. Yeah, that was great. That's why I'm hooked. That's why I'm doing the podcast. For
Mhm.
those of you who know my story, so I guess I was one of the lucky ones. So that was when I made the 100K. My first
Mhm.
100K that was what the portfolio was at the time. When I
Mhm.
clicked sell on that week, I was like, wow, yeah, this
Money
doubled.
rich.
Yeah, rich. I felt rich at that time. I was like, yo, richest thing. Nobody could talk to me, Head down to
Yes,
the
sir.
Clark store
Club.
right now. But
Mhm.
since then things have changed. But I feel like doing the episode based on just having like if all I have was 100 grand to my
Mhm.
name to invest,
Mhm. Mhm.
specifically, what would that
So
kind
you
of
already
look
have
like?
like your emergency fund and you're not like,
Hmm.
struggling and if you need this money like tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah,
Like you
I
could
won't necessarily need it
technically,
tomorrow. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I could
maybe have
do
like
other
a
things.
job or some
Hmm.
side hustles, or maybe even if you're a student, you're doing some stuff on the side, you're doing,
Precisely.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's the because I was a student at the time,
Mm-hmm.
so and that was literally all the money I had in my portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to invest with a similar mindset, meaning
Mm-hmm.
this is all
It's
I
not like the
have. So
light bill need to pay, and if this don't
yeah,
work out, like you have to do a next level of sitting down and reflecting and
precisely.
yeah.
And I feel like that's how my portfolio is going to reflect, or that's how
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try and choose my stocks based on 2019 Theon, and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily the Theon now, where you know I would
Mm-hmm.
put maybe that on because it's a bit different. You can't invest the same way you do 100K and 100
Mm-hmm.
mil, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
two different things. In that 100 mil portfolio, we had
Mm-hmm.
at least like 10 stocks.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never tell somebody with 100K buy 10 stocks, right? My thing would be different, and even my mindset at the time was never to buy 10 stocks. Because
Mm-hmm.
how the hell am I gonna like look and follow all 10 stocks to make sure everything is
Mm-hmm.
going good in this ecosystem? Everything's going, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nah, that's a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, I mean, as I said, I was in my final year of med school, so I never
Mm-hmm.
had time to be medsing 10 different stocks. Nor was I comfortable medsing just one stock and putting all my money on one stock. So, because if it was just one stock, we'd have just talked about the one stock on the episode done. We can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
But
reason
you
you guys
did.
are
You put it
here.
in Wigton though.
Yes, but that was
So you're
50K.
breaking your rule. Well,
That was
okay.
50K.
Yeah.
And then when I sold that, I put it in Okay, maybe I did put it in one stock. Maybe I didn't put it in one stock. That was another IPO.
I think mine at that time was Pulse.
Yours was Pulse.
Yeah, I think it was right around, I don't know, early 2020.
What was
Was it like
going on
right
with
before?
Pulse?
I'm trying to remember. I think
Why'd you buy?
business wise, they were doing well. Like they had
Oh,
expanded. What was it they had done? Like with the
I
whole modeling
remember.
and agency was doing well, and then their
It was the
properties.
it was the properties that was doing really well. It was the
Uh,
reevaluation gains that made them
mm-hmm,
millions. Yeah. So they were,
mm-hmm,
it looked like massive profits, which it was, but they were
mm-hmm,
printed. It wasn't cash.
mm-hmm. But
It was
the
just
thing
a,
is, the other side of their business was doing well though. Like the modeling stuff, I think was doing well, wasn't it? Like they were actually
well
getting cash
enough.
from the hotel and the.
Okay,
Yeah,
fair.
I'm trying to
Well,
remember. Yeah.
I don't know if it was really, it wasn't, I remember the gains not being cash gains, but they were still
Well, I guess
profits.
you're saying the bulk of it. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I
Mm.
remember buying Pulse too, because my
Mm-hmm.
average price, I remember buying it in September. I'll never forget this because I bought some in like the end of September, and I was
Mm-hmm.
on internal medicine at that time, this
Mm-hmm.
rotation, and I was telling a resident why I was buying. I think her name, I don't remember if her name was Monique or so on,
Mm-hmm.
but she wasn't necessary. I don't think she was Jamaican. And I was
Mm-hmm.
telling her why I was buying. I'll never
Mm-hmm.
forget it too. And I went home, second guessed myself, and I nearly sold.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wanted to buy more, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
let me hold off. And the stock price started to move. I think in October, November, that stock started to move. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
having to buy more, and I felt bad about buying more, like $4, 50, $5. And I was just like, yo, I'm so
Uh-huh.
done. Yo, like I started to cuss myself. I'm like, I'm so dumb. Like, why would I
Mm-hmm.
second guess myself? And the stock ended
Mm-hmm.
up flying. I remember selling at like $12, like 11, $12. And this was before it
Mm-hmm.
split. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pulses are good. The Pulse was really fun. Pulse back then was
Mm-hmm.
really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I guess for this episode we're doing
Mm-hmm.
in the present tense. So we need to actually
Mm-hmm.
start mixing, well, what's your investment philosophy like for the 100K? Would you put it all, if all you had was 100K to invest in, right? Would you put it all in one stock, two stocks, three stocks, five stocks, 10
Mm-hmm.
stocks? What
Mm-hmm.
are you thinking?
Well, as I said, I did it in one.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, if we only do one,
Why
the
did you do
episode
it
would
only
be a
in
lot
one?
shorter.
True.
I
Why one?
guess it's just, well, I mean, so we said the goal is what, 30% by the
Mm-hmm.
end of 2025.
Today is what day? May 1
Uh,
now? Thursday, May
yeah,
1. So we have what, like 8 months left in
yeah.
the
We
year?
said end of December.
Mm-hmm.
If we're do you think it would be easier to pick one stock that goes up 30% or two stocks that go up 30%?
True. Very valid
I don't
point.
know.
But then you have to also,
Mm-hmm.
hedge your bets
Mm-hmm.
and manage the risk because suppose
Mm-hmm.
that one stock doesn't go up 30%.
Yeah, but it's 100K, so it's like
Yeah,
depending on
but
the
this
stock
is
you're putting it
all
in,
you
you can
have.
sell. Yeah, but
This is
as I
all.
said, you
Mm-hmm.
can, like, that's one of the benefits of when you have the 100K. It's like you don't have to worry about, like, think about it. If you get it wrong, it's like you could literally just look in the queue and sell. A lot of stocks you could just easily sell, and you don't even have
Mm-hmm.
to
That's
take like a
true.
huge hit in the price. Like you could make a 5% loss. I mean, it's a loss,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like versus if you're in a million or whatever higher amount,
Or
it's like when you
five
get it
million, yeah.
wrong, you are
Mm-hmm.
selling down and you have to be taking like a 20% loss, even. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I
As
think
I said,
back
like what
to
we'll do, like as I said, I didn't think about actually I didn't think about like which specific company. So I would say is it would depend on, I guess, when we actually look. I'm gonna try actually look at the market and see
mm-hmm.
which one, because now I'm thinking the timeline. So it's like, okay, we're in May now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
even thinking like what earnings. Interesting, because the earnings season or the report should be dropping soon. Because, well, for some companies, some companies will report by mid-May, which is, I mean, it's beginning of May now, so they could start reporting.
In a couple
Um,
weeks.
yeah, but I probably wouldn't be looking to maybe profit from this earnings season. It would be more. So if the quarter ends, excuse me. So the June quarter would be July, August, so mid-August, 45 days after the end of June. So maybe you'd be looking at, if you're doing it like something where you're expecting like a really good report, and you're expecting that the market will react, I guess, positively to it.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
That's a
or
good time.
Yeah, or I'm thinking like a timeline to think could either be like a report or maybe some shareholder meeting. You're expecting something nice to be said at that,
Or some
just like a
dividends.
board meeting.
Dividends may not raise it
We'll
by
give you the
30,
30.
but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, a 30%. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a big one. Yeah,
true.
I'm gonna actually start looking. So wait, you had
Well,
one in mind for yours?
I have several in mind actually. I have actually a whole short list of stocks. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a decent amount that I think could do the 30% in the year. But I think how I made my goal is if I want 30%, right, I usually would have to aim for something higher than 30% to kind of secure it. It's like a guarantee. Like if I think the stock can go up 100%, then it most definitely can go up 30%. So I'm buying the stock that can go up 100% just to make sure I meet
To
my
have a
goal.
good margin of safety.
Exactly. Always want a good margin of safety. And that's something I take into account for my own portfolio nowadays. Like I need to ensure that this stock can actually go up by X amount above my target. So that at least if I hit that, I'm like, I'm good. Anything else is just brought at this point. Even though you analyze and say, all right, yes, it can go the 50%. Let's say I'm buying this stock. My goal is 30%, right? But I'm buying this stock because I know it can go 50%. At least when it hits that 30%, if I hit the goal, yes, I can sell. But if I know the stock can go 50%, maybe I sell piece and hold on to the rest to say, all right, when will it, what are the things, is everything still lining up for it to get to that 50%? Because if not, I would sell everything at the 30. If so, I could also just keep everything and hold until it hits the 50 and then sell. So it also, it just depends. And it depends on the type of stock. So it depends on the reason why, right? Because if you could be waiting on profits as one thing, you could be waiting on a corporate action where you may not know the timeline, because you'll know at least, okay, there's a report is due here, so and you're expecting this level of profits on this day. So the worst that can happen is, oh, the report is late, but the profits are coming. You get me? And of course, you never know, but yeah. But it's different from if you're waiting on a particular corporate action. Like let's say them say, yo, like ISP wants to do a stock split, right? We don't know when. They could do that anytime between now and the next couple of years. We don't know. So waiting on something like a corporate action is a bit more elusive in terms of the timeline. So yeah, it all depends.
So it depends,
But
because if it was set out, could depend like, oh, if say you knew that, well, you were saying like dividend, like if say the company usually, like you're expecting, oh, this dividend is gonna be huge, and then they usually pay dividends at this time of the year, and then so if they were to announce that, you would know ahead of time. So I guess it depends. But yeah,
I agree.
I don't know. You say you have one in mind already?
I mean, I could say one right now. I would probably buy. I don't know. There's so many. I would probably. This is tough, bro. And it shouldn't be this hard, but all right, let's go with one of the first ones I see, which is Dolphin Cove. I'd probably buy Dolphin Cove at this price point.
Really?
So Dolphin Cove right now is $11.44. Where's my phone? It's recorded me. All right, let me pull up my calculator. What's 30% at like 11 at this price?
But you want me to work it out, or you're working it out? We said 11.50.
So it just has to go to $14.95. So let's say I'd have to sell it at $15 basically to get 30%. Now, I mean, we spoke about Dolphin Cove on the podcast, and we spoke as to why it's this low, but look at it right now.
So what are you expecting would cause it to make someone buy it at that price?
Well, number one, I don't think the dividends are gonna. Well, they haven't paid a dividend yet, have they? Maybe I have to walk back Dolphin Cove. Because now that I'm doing the analysis, so the profits have been lower this year.
Or 2024, you mean?
For 20, yeah, okay, yeah. For 2024,
Mm-hmm.
the profits have been lower, one.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a negative sentiment around the stock right now because of the whole bankruptcy situation and the whole
Mm-hmm.
fight with the chairman of the board and did they fire him, did
Mm-hmm.
they not fire him, and so on. So there's like a lot of negative sentiment towards the stock right now. At this price, I'm not seeing it get. I don't see it getting any lower than this, right? Now
Mm.
the Q1 report is due when today, and
Not
I think
today.
the full, yeah, I
The
feel
annual
like one of
report was due today,
the annual report's due
or
today.
the audited for the 2024 financial year dropped today.
Oh, I need to actually look at that.
Yeah, I
It
think it
just
was.
dropped.
Let me see. It was profits. It was actually less of a loss than usual. So they
In the
usually
Q4.
last year they lost 600 mil US, or sorry, 600K US. This year they lost 500K US. So it was it was a slightly less loss. Revenues were down 12%. But my thing is like, what are you expecting
I think it's just
would change
oversold.
that though?
I think it's
Yeah, but
at this.
what do you think? When do you think? Because you're saying, remember, you go back to the goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's May now. So what specific time? Like you're expecting something in July, something in what is it that you're expecting?
So, well, the next report would be due. Let's see. So
Mid
it's
May.
January. Yeah, so mid
So
May. So in 2 weeks' time.
next 2 weeks. Yeah.
Next 2 weeks. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
My only issue is they haven't paid a dividend yet, which is interesting because
Mm-hmm.
if you're the parent company and you're filing for bankruptcy and so on, you're trying to grab as much cash as possible. I figured you'd
Mm-hmm.
squeeze some funds out of Dolphin Cove, your
Mm-hmm.
subsidiary. So I'm expecting more dividends, or at least higher dividends. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also even though revenues are down, yes, I do
Mm-hmm.
agree. Um, that revenues are down, but I do
Mm-hmm.
expect more dividends, at least dividends to come, and I expect the stock price to just at least rise back to the same, at
Mm-hmm.
least maybe like at
So
18 or so on,
so how
because I do
much?
think it's
Wait. So what kind of dividend are you expecting them to pay out?
maybe a 7 cent dividend. Last
And
year
how
they
much do they
paid
usually
what?
pay?
They paid two 6 cent dividends, and their yield was 5%.
So hold on. So
And
if they paid
so, hold on, this is the
trying to
yield
make,
at which
so if
price?
you buy at, they're saying they pay a 7 cent dividend, and if you buy at 11, well, no, so 7 cents, you need to sell at what we said, 15.
Yeah, 15.
So if you 7 cents at $15 means that would be what is that?
Well,
7 cents at 15 would
why
be
at
a
15?
4.6. Because I'm saying like you want to look, someone wanting to buy at 15, it should be attractive to them at 15.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
that's actually a really high yield. That's 4.7% before fees.
Hmm.
Um, So what would you do if they don't, like, what if they don't pay any dividends for like this whole financial year while they're working on, I don't know, sorting out their stuff, or the parent is working on sorting out their stuff?
Well, I think the fear eventually will be wiped away.
Mm-hmm. So
So
what do you think would
I'm
cause that then?
so there are a couple of things that could cause that, right? One, we're not seeing as much negative press in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the worst is kind of, well, is it out there? We never really know. But the fact that the parent company already filed for bankruptcy,
Mm-hmm.
I can't anticipate it getting much worse than that. And I think that it could also, as I said, be a good thing that they're filing for bankruptcy, because if Dolphin Cove, yes, is the crown jewel or so on in their whole suite of subsidiaries, or if they have like a lot of
Attractions.
attractions, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they plan to sell Dolphin Cove,
Mm-hmm.
right? If Misia take over bid for $15, $18 or so on, $20, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, selling at this price to me doesn't make sense for World of Dot, for the parent company.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, not when they pay such great dividends. And then when you factor in the dividends too, the 30% looks a bit less if they pay like a 4% dividend or a 5% dividend. Because if I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
0.7, right? And they pay two of those for the rest of the year, because they paid two dividends last year, both were 0.6 each.
Mm-hmm.
So if the dividends do increase, or let's say they stay the same at 0.6 each, right? and then it's 1.2. Let's say the dividend is 1.2. Where is? Can you do some maths on that? Like, what's the yield?
On
1.2
which
at
again?
11.50. My price, not my selling price. My price.
But you shouldn't do that. You should look at the person.
I will
You
look
should
at
look at the
both.
exit.
I will look
$1,
at both.
2. My thing is that I don't know. I'm not. They could
Because that's a
pay this
10%
big
yield.
dividend, you know, but they could pay a dividend and it's not as good as you think it is. Because like the business wise, last year profits were like a bit down.
They were down.
I don't know. I'm wondering. Like I think that they probably will pay at least one dividend this year. I'm just wondering if it will really be as big as you're expecting. The only thing I'm thinking is that if maybe if they did a good report, like say the first quarter is a good report, it's better than last year. There's not really much negative press around cause there's even other stuff you could go into. Like I was looking at there was this, you know, like the whole bankruptcy stuff. Like there's actually a rough timeline on the process, you know, like there were some court dates that were like thrown out. I don't know if I sent it to you. Maybe I should send it to you. So you could actually maybe compare that to your timeline or what you need. Let me maybe try to share my screen. So should we see my screen? There were some rough dates. So we're recording May 1. So let's say important dates. The final hearing on the first day pleadings is May 5th. Can even save it to your calendar. Wow. First day hearing is April. Oh, this already happened. There were some other dates that I think they threw out. Meeting of the creditors, May 8th. There was another date. I think there was a June date I saw. I don't remember seeing a June date. There was a date. That's so weird. But yeah, I guess it's so your play is okay. So what my thing is like if they okay, I mean, I don't know. My thing is like for me, I feel like you could end up getting a gain maybe later in the year. I think it could maybe move to 30%. No, I'm just not sure if I feel comfortable doing that though. It's not that I wouldn't buy Dolphin Cove, but I would more have like a longer timeline for that. Or if I'm someone who is like, yo, the next year, like not by the end of the year, but like over the next year, and I'm looking for dividend or consistent income. And like I actually wouldn't even want them to pay the dividend this year. In fact, if I was like I guess like a dividend investor, I would be like, hey, I will just dollar cost average it. If I have some money, I can save up my salary, whatever, do some side hustles, and I just buy it at $10, buy it at $10, buy it at $10. And maybe a year or two from now, maybe when some of this is cleared up, maybe they don't even pay a dividend for the next year. And then there's fear. Suppose they drop in losses or less profit, not losses, I think less profit, and they're not paying a dividend. And then there's articles about it. There's fear. What's going on at Dolphin Cove? And maybe more articles as this court case comes out. Oh, they owe this amount of money. Oh, this, oh, this. You could see maybe even the stock price even either staying at the same level or even dropping more. And once again, if there's more fear about not paying a dividend, that would be something that you'd be like benefiting to say, hey, as it drops, like it'd be more like a dollar cost average, I think would be better maybe for this. And I guess like for this, what I'm thinking was like with 100K, it'd be like, yo, you just buy now. Though you could, I guess, dollar cost average it.
Yeah, but our goal is 30% for the end of the year. So it may not be. I mean, on my list, yeah, honestly, my list has much better picks.
I'm not saying it's not a bad. It's not a bad pick, and I really actually.
It's just not. Yeah, it's just not my first choice pick because I have much safer bets than Dolphin Cove. Much safer bets than Dolphin Cove. But I'll set them after you go. I'll set the first safe bet after you go. So you pick one.
Let me look. So I would consider Dolphin Cove. Would consider it though. One that I'm thinking of. Well, I don't know how we're gonna do this, but I was thinking maybe Signia USD.
Didn't that already go up recently?
No, I mean there's still some units in the queue. I think it could get to probably about 100K because I was looking at it, right? Signia,
it's a 100K portfolio, bro. It's JMD.
Yeah, but you could convert it to US. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how you depend because you could convert the US, the
Okay. All
Jamaican
right.
to
No,
US,
no.
do that and then make
Fair.
good. Yeah, gain is gain, bro.
Gain is gain.
Even factoring in the fees. Because I was
What's the
looking at it
ticker?
like SCI USD.
Okay, cool.
Because right now, Cygnus I think is trading based on my
Oh, yeah, I
market date.
see
It's at
there.
7 cents, right? 7 US cents.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, if you check back the last 2 financial years, which is like end of June, they
Mm-hmm.
bought shares. Well, not US shares necessarily, but they've bought back shares around that time period. They seem to actually like buy shares during that period. We're in May. We're just entering May now. So I'm like, hey, May, June. And then also, if I go in now, it's like, imagine making maybe like, think about it, if you buy now at like 7 cents, even if you sell at, how much is that? Say you sell at 9 cents. How much is that? That
That's two
gives
upon seven.
you 28.6% before fees. So you say
Mm-hmm.
0.9, I don't know, 0.92 then. Yeah, that's like 30% or so.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then once again, like they've bought, the last time I saw they bought by the US shares was at 11 cents. So you have that somewhat of a margin of safety. And then also the IPO
Mm-hmm.
price was 11 cents. APO price was 14 cents. So you're well below all of those points. And then they pay, it would have been nice if we were recording early in the year, they pay twice a year dividends early in the first part of the year and in the latter part of the year. So I
Yeah,
was
Q1
thinking
and
that,
Q4.
you could get, if you buy now, you could reach your goal because there's somewhat of a rough timeline. I don't know if they're going to buy back, but maybe they don't even buy back June. Maybe they buy back July, August, September, and then also maybe even get a dividend on that. And then your dividend yield at this price is probably like 3-4%, and I think it's tax-free dividends.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that could actually be a good one because you could reach your 30% goal before our time, like we're saying end of December. And I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
yo, they could buy back. What if they buy back
In 2
June?
months. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you'd imagine you then make a gain, you're out, and you could go and invest in something else. You could,
Well, question then. You don't think it's a bit risky choosing the US over the JMD stock simply because they haven't bought back in a while on the USD side? And
so
then, no, all right,
that
go ahead. Yeah.
what I would say with the JMD now. So I was looking at it. Um, at the JMD price now, it's like $12 or so,
Yeah.
and I've seen them buy back up to like maybe $12, $13. Not to say that they couldn't buy above that, but if they were to say buy at the conservative price, which is $13, then you'd only make like 5% or so. And we're aiming for the goal of 30%. That's why I was saying that. That's why my basis was the USD is a bigger discount. So they will use, I think one of their metrics is the NAV, the net asset value, or they're counting quote unquote true worth.
Mm-hmm.
So the US shares are like a bigger discount than the JMD shares at the current price. So I was thinking that they may actually more want to buy the US shares or some of the US shares. I mean, if they want like more volumes, they're going to buy the JMD side. But once again, this is the benefit of a 100K portfolio. It's easier than a 10 mil or 100 mil portfolio that we're talking about. So that's why I was thinking maybe the US one for this versus the JMD. Unless
I
you're
mean,
gonna say,
they,
oh, I'm gonna make 5% on the JMD and then go and find something else, but then we would need another episode.
yeah, true. Fair, fair, fair.
So I'm even thinking like how we could have done this episode. We could have said, hey,
You buy now and buy later.
like we do a follow up. So we say, okay, what's my first play? And then bam, does the
Mm-hmm.
play work out? Then you say, okay, what's the next play? Bam, okay, I've now
Mm-hmm.
reached this goal. I guess we'll see how it goes. Because if I'm right on the buyback, I would say, yo, we have a double dip,
Yeah, fair, fair, fair.
30% again.
Well, when
Yeah.
I'm looking historically, last year they actually, so they,
Mm-hmm.
when they're doing their buybacks, they buy is open market, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
have two types of
Or the
buybacks,
buy from the queue.
right? Yeah, they buy from the queue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they bought. I should actually change this to candlestick view, but they bought all the way up to, so it was around the end of June. Look when it was trading. The 25th of June, it traded as low as $10.05. And
Mm-hmm.
then the buyback sent it all the way up to a high of almost $13. It's $12.98. So that's almost 30%, right? Because you're going from about a low of $10.05 to a high of almost $13. So that's almost 30%. If you check the year before that, around that same time though, the buyback was sent it all the way up to a high of $16.37, coming from a low of around $12.40. So I think it's just them buying what's in the queue. So when you said that, you know, last year when they bought back, it didn't really. I agree, it wasn't as high up, but the change, the delta, is still around like 30%. So it's still possible, yes. My only fear is them just not spending their USD cash on buying back shares. Like I could see them just using the JMD and say, all right, we're just going to buy SCI JMD and not buy the US. And so that's just the only fear for me. So it's just something I have to, yeah. But
No, that's
just,
true.
yeah, because you could be stuck, but I mean, it's 100K as you said. So the worst you can do is probably just sell. But fair.
And that's the thing, your dividend would cover. Because if they pay the next one later in the year, I think that would be like depending on 4% or so.
Yeah.
So if your broker fees are low, you could actually sell even at the same price you bought it at, and you'd still make a profit, or sell it a little less, and then
True.
it could break even essentially, depending on that.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I like the reason I was looking at it was that I was thinking that you go for the gain earlier. So like with the Dolphin Cove thing, I mean, they have timelines. As I said, you could look at maybe the court stuff and all that stuff, and maybe like this is an example of like, oh, if you are a lawyer, you could maybe understand this whole process a lot better than I would. I mean, I'm gonna have to like go on Google, go ask AI, Chat GPT, whatever, and then maybe try to understand it, and maybe my understanding still won't be as deep as a person who went to law school for 3-5 years.
True.
But yeah, so that would be one of the ones I'd consider still, Cygnus, and probably the USD over the JMD maybe, because I think it's a bigger discount.
Okay.
And also they haven't bought back shares for a longer period. So I think they'd want to at least spend on the US side versus the JMD side.
Okay.
You have any others in mind?
Yeah. Let's go to a safer bet, but it depends on who is looking. So I'm thinking Sagicor, Select Funds, Manufacturing and Distribution. Yes. Select MD. So the reason I'm choosing Select MD is...
What is Select MD?
Sorry, hold on.
You looking for some?
No, sorry. Somebody was calling me a while ago. Okay. What is Select MD? So Select MD is an index fund. So a fund, they accept people's money and invest it into certain things, and an index is just like a collection of, you know, securities or so on. So they invested, they did an IPO, and they took the money and invested in a bunch of different manufacturing and distribution companies, right? So it's, you know, like a fund. They have a net asset value, meaning what is, if you wanted like a nominal figure as to what the assets are worth within this basket of stocks, this is what it is, and their NAV is $1.25. However, the share price currently, as of today, closed at 84 cents. So there's a huge gap between what the NAV is, or the book value, the net asset value is, and the share price. And so it's about, that discount is 41 cents, which translates to 48.57%. Right? So that's almost a 50% discount. And then the beautiful part is that they actually want to convert the shares to a unit trust. Right? So if you look on JSE's website and so on, dated March 17th, so Sagicor Select Funds Limited actually advised that it's filed an application with the Supreme Court of Jamaica in order to, you know, basically it's to convene a meeting of shareholders of Select F, which is Sagicor Financial Select Fund, which is their basket, their index fund of financial stocks.
Mm-hmm.
and Sagicor Manufacturing and Distribution Select Fund, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that meeting is to vote on the proposed conversion of the funds into unit trusts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that will do is, once you actually sell a unit trust, you sell it at NAV. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a good way to exit. So so if you buy at this 84 cents
Mm-hmm.
price, sorry.
Mm. You notice like all of that explaining and big words and whatever you just have to do explains why it's at the price it is at now.
Yeah. Yeah.
NAV
All we
and
need is
unit
some,
trust conversion, Supreme Court, da 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 da.
yeah, all we need is some education, right? Um, sorry, that's an insider joke. But yeah, yo. So I think that's the thing that's
Mm-hmm.
everybody's kind of watching is just the timeline. Meaning, when are they actually going to convert this? I mean, yes, we've seen filings and so on, and they
Mm-hmm.
decided that they wanted to actually convert it to a unit trust last year.
Mm-hmm.
But this year is when this, applied to the Supreme Court to summon a meeting for the shareholders. Once that's done and it actually comes off the stock exchange and so on, I've bought those shares at 84 cents
Mm-hmm.
and I can sell it at NAV, which the last NAV that we have is $1.25. And I don't see the NAV, the gap between share price and NAV
Mm-hmm.
closing so much that it would actually be less than 30%. So remember when I
Mm-hmm.
said I look for that margin of safety?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for something that will go up about 50%, even though my goal is 30%.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that it will be done before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, a lot of these decisions none of these decisions are in my hands. We still
Mm-hmm.
have to wait on Supreme Court and we still have to
Mm-hmm. The
wait
shareholders
on,
have to approve it, the
and the
shareholders may not
shareholders.
approve it.
Exactly, but the shareholders will approve it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure the shareholders will approve it. I am not majority shareholder, nor
Mm-hmm.
do I own any other stock as I'm recording it right now. Well, me personally, but I think the shareholders will approve it, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
it's a good way to, like, let's say I was a fund manager and I'd buy into the IPO ages ago or so on. It's a good exit
Mm-hmm.
for me, or because the IPO was at $1 still, so I don't know.
Mm.
But I
I don't
could have
think many
just been
funds
buying.
bought in though.
Yeah, I don't think many funds bought in either.
Mm-hmm.
But buying at this discount to NAV, it's like
Mm-hmm.
a good way to hedge your bets because you know that, all right,
It's
once it becomes a unit
arbitrage.
trust, yeah, it's
And
arbitrage.
anyone who knows Buffett knows he loves arbitrage.
Mm-hmm. Loves a good arbitrage. So yeah, like it makes sense. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
the safer bets for me, and I feel like it could give me that at least 30%, maybe 50%. We'll see. What the NAV
Mm-hmm.
is at the time that it delists.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Cause the AGM is August this year.
mhm.
So yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Cause as you said, there's stuff at the courts. The shareholders have to approve it.
Mhm.
All the timeline and stuff. But I don't
Yeah,
think it's necessarily a bad pick.
yeah, because even
Yeah.
directors were buying. Up to last year in December, you could see
Mm-hmm.
a director buying 4.7 million shares,
Mm.
another one buying 5.2 million shares.
It's the same
Like,
director,
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
chairman.
Mm. He knows what's up. Somebody knows what's up.
Mm.
So yeah, I as in select, and the discount to NAV is much bigger in select MD rather than select F.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably why I need to see what select F's discount is, because if select MD's on is
No, it's more.
48%. Well, yeah, it's definitely more because select F closed at 46 cents today, and then last NAV they have is 57 cents.
Maybe 23% or
23%.
24% or so.
Yeah, 23,
Yeah.
24% discount. So select MD is looking like the likely one to get me to my goal.
Mm.
So I would
Okay.
probably put maybe half my portfolio in select MD.
Mm.
Yeah. I'd
And
probably only buy 3 stocks.
the other half in
Max,
Dolphin
maybe
Cove?
2. I'll tell you at the end of this episode to see if I still stick with
Mm.
Dolphin Cove, because as we said, we're freestyling this. So I just have like a
Mm.
short list of stocks, and as I
Uh-huh.
talk it through, and analyze it, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'd probably buy X amount or so on. So we'll see.
Mm.
We'll see. But SCI
Yeah.
JMD was also on my list, my short list for
Mm.
sure, because of that buyback. I think they would at least get me to 20% for the buyback, and then I can at least sell and buy something else.
Maybe is there like a dividend around that time, sir?
Oh, that would be nice for
I was thinking you could get
Signos.
I don't know. I think they
When do
paid
they normally pay
3 times
dividends?
a year.
I think they paid twice last year, but I could be wrong. I feel like they only
Oh,
paid
yeah, I think
twice.
it was twice. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, you probably wouldn't catch it then. Yeah, so select could be it. I'm looking too. I'm trying to think. Something. I kind of want to say this one, but I don't know. Like we were just talking before
Can I
this.
guess?
Sure. You're not gonna get it though.
Really?
No,
So
you're
you
not gonna get
kind of
it.
want to say this one, but you're not sure.
You're not gonna get
Uh,
it. There's something else I said that if you listen, that you could cue you into what I may say, but I don't think you heard it. And I said I could bet money you're not gonna guess it.
all right.
Unless you
Let
heard
me
what I
not.
said.
What did you say?
I'm not gonna tell you what.
Why would that? We do have a bet
That's what I
money.
just said. It would affect. I said we were talking. There was something that came out just a while ago, and we were talking about it.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking QWI.
Mm.
Yeah, the only thing is I don't know about the
Also on my
timeline on
list.
it because I'm
Yeah.
looking at it now. It's at like 76 cents. Say that even got to, let's see.
Tell the people them why QWI.
Well, I want to see if it would. So if it were to go say just below $1, like 95 cents, that would be 25% before fees. The only thing is, I guess that alone wouldn't give the goal though. But there was something that stood out to me so they just published their annual reports. I guess I'll try to share it. This was stood out to me as a bit interesting. So we were talking about the whole thing of QWI, it's like a fund. It's basically the Jamaican Teas stock portfolio, I guess. Jamaican Teas owns the bulk of it, and then the public also owns a lot. This line or segment stood out to me. They were like, so they want at their shareholder meeting, which will be June 2025, the 12th of June. They said that they are approving new share options. So they say an additional 72 million shares. The directors of the company are basically being given the option to buy into 72 million additional shares between over the next 4 years, from the 30th of June 2025 to June 2029, at $1.50 per share. And I was like, $1.50? But the share price, as we said, 76 cents. I'm like, and it's been that way for like a long period. So I'm like, they're getting the option to be able to buy it at $1.50. That those kind of strike you as something. I mean, still 4 years from now, or over the next, I guess, 4 years or so. Well, actually, it says hold on, exercisable up to 5 years. Oh, but yeah, my thing was just like, it's like you're looking at the car. Oh, say you're looking at a car. The car is worth $1 million now, and you're like, I could buy it right now, but I want to have the option to possibly be able to buy it at 1.5 million, or actually even more than that, because comparing 76 cents to $1.50, that's a much higher.
Yeah.
How much is that?
That's double, bro.
Yeah, that's more than double. So you're saying you're gonna
that's
the car that's worth $1 million, you want the option to be able to buy it at 2 million over the next few years.
Yeah.
Like I would only buy something at $1.50 if I think it's gonna be worth more than $1.50. So it's almost like
Exactly.
I buy it at $1.50 and I think it's really worth $2 if I'm reading this right. So I was just like, and then
maybe
they also got
them
approval.
Also hedging their bets too, because they don't have to buy it at $1.50. They could just buy it on the open market.
Yeah, but why not?
At that discount?
How did they come up to the $1.50 price? That's even above NAV. Well above NAV. The NAV now is $1.13. So why $1.50 versus $1.25 versus $1.30? I don't know. That's kind of weird to me. And then they also got approval to do a buyback last year. They haven't bought back shares.
Yes.
I guess I was wondering about that with them. I don't think so. I don't know if I'd put it. I don't know. I was thinking maybe I'd add peace, but then I feel like that'd be one where it's like I'd have to. Once again, we're saying if it went to the 95 cents or so,
Yeah.
I'd like to probably sell like just below $1 or so. I feel like maybe $1 would be like a psychological barrier and stuff. So I was thinking that would give me 25%, but then we're saying the goal is 30%. So even if I did this, then I have to do something else. So I'm not so sure.
I mean,
about
QWI
that.
isn't a bad play if you're buying it and something else. I agree.
I'm trying to think of another one. Maybe Mail Pack. Let me see. It's at $2.38 now.
Mail Pack.
They have
Interesting.
this will be their first full year with the MyCart acquisition,
and the first full year of tax. Well, half tax.
Yeah. I don't know. Could it reach $3? Let me see. $3 would be what? Well, not probably $3. So if
I'm always playing devil's advocate. I'm sorry, guys.
So even if it went to $3, it'd be like 26%. Not impossible. I don't think that's impossible.
Not impossible. Definitely not impossible.
Trying to think of another one.
Mail Pack isn't even on my list, unfortunately.
I would consider broilers, but I feel like broilers has more of a drop coming in now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would do it now. Cement
30%.
Yeah, maybe. How much it's at $84 now. So
need it above 100.
Is so much?
Well, I don't know.
Let me see. 85,
20, 80.
$30. That's 110. Oh, yeah. You have to break $100. Probably wouldn't.
You need some help? You want me to just drop one?
Oh, you already have one of yours in mind?
Yeah. I have a whole shortlist.
I know which one you're gonna say though.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, shoot.
Indies.
I was actually not gonna say Indies. I was gonna say JSE.
That was the second picking. I'm literally have my mouse on it. I'm like, yo, is that that?
But Indies was it's like I have Indies right above JSE in my list, and I also have another.
So then I'm right.
Stock. No, I wasn't gonna say Indies. I was gonna say JSE.
It was, okay, whatever.
No, as in my order is not. This is alphabetical. So I have Indies, I have ISP, and I have JSE. So
ISP. Oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just dropping all the bombs right there. But let's first start with JSE. So we did a tickers episode on JSE, right? And you guys can check that episode out. I'm actually not sure if we're gonna release that before or after this episode.
Yeah, that's how I was just recorded. Like, wait, but are we?
We just recorded the JSE episode, but I do think the JSE has a lot more legs to grow, especially this year. You know, we spoke about things like them raising the junior market limit, so we expect maybe more listings. The government, raising the junior market limit from 500 million to 750 million. So, you know, we're expecting like maybe more listings, secondary offerings, and so on. And you know, with the more trading activity on the market means more fees to them. So that's more revenues to them. We spoke about things like them bringing, you know, the bonds, maybe the green and blue bonds, or just, you know, more bonds being listed on the JSE as well. We spoke about, you know, their trustee services and them diversifying all their revenue streams and so on. So there are several different ways to skin the cat for the JSE, but I do think that they can get to, my estimate was $18 this year. Right now, today they traded at what? I think they closed at $12. That's more of a 50% increase. I mean, they've traded as high as $40 in the past, right? Or at least 30 high. I think it was $40. They've hit a high of $40. I'm almost sure. So to them, right now is basically an all-time low for them, and they are much more profitable.
But not all-time low, but just low over like the last 5 years.
Yeah, as in the past 6 months has been, well, okay, maybe not
all-time low. Yeah,
True.
They say 1 year. Well, no, not 1 year low, but like 5 year low or so.
Yeah, that's very true.
So how much would that be? The 12 to what you said?
I said $18. 12 to 18 is, hold on, they closed at $12.65 today. Let me just be very accurate. No, the close price is $12.08. The reference price is $12.08.
What makes you say 18 versus 20?
I don't know, the psychological barrier of 20. I'm just being conservative.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just because usually they even used to trade at a higher PE. Right now their PE is what, 17.
Mm-hmm.
They do pay dividends as well. They paid 2 last year, and their dividend this year was higher than last year. Their
Mm-hmm.
dividend is 0.3 in Q2. That
Mm-hmm.
just gone a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time last year it was 0.263. So and they paid one in the Q3, so they may pay one in Q3 this year too. We'll see. But I am bullish on the JSE itself. We've already had listings this year. All right, we had the
Mm-hmm.
whole huge offer for sale. That's Transjam.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to see what that would look like, and
Mm-hmm.
when that report comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Transjam offer for sale. We had Atlantic just listing the other day, and hopefully we have a lot more listings this year to boost trading activity.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think they would comfortably hit my 30% by the end of the year if I'm buying at $12.08.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely putting the JSC as one of the stocks that I'd be buying in this portfolio.
Mm-hmm. I was looking at another one.
Oh yeah.
Still, it's just that I'm still trying to get more clarity on it. The lab, I've been looking
Mm,
at it, and they have some like movies and shows that they've been working on, and they're hoping to
yeah.
launch some of them this year. Like one of
Yeah,
them
their
was, I think,
film.
Summer. This it was like Love Offside. This it was, I guess, it was like a football based one. The only thing is that I don't know. I'm trying to find out like if there was a way that I could, I guess, see possibly how well the movie, like if there was some sort of early showing or like review of it before it kind of gets more public and stuff. But I was just thinking that, what, imagine a world where one of their movies goes
Mm-hmm.
big on like Netflix
Mm,
or HBO Max or one of those stuff, or prime time, and it's like a huge show and people are like loving it and they're posting on social media and it's on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter, all of those stuff. And then when people eventually made that connection with Lab and then they see the report of Lab, I think it could like seriously like move up probably at least 50% or so, because the amount of money that you can make from some of these movies is kind of crazy. Like, because it's, it's worldwide distribution. If so, it's just, I'm still like trying to figure out if there's more ways that I could find out about the movies itself, so that maybe I could, because once again, they could put a movie and they don't really make much money from it. I was trying to like say, okay, I'd feel more comfortable
yeah.
putting money in it if I knew the movie was gonna, or if I maybe even watch the movie myself and saw it before the people saw it and say, "Whoa, this is a banger. This is gonna be
Mm-hmm.
huge," and then it ends up being huge.
Well, one thing I may not understand is the whole Netflix concept. Like, if it does well on Netflix, does that
Mm-hmm.
equate to more profits, or would they have already just
I
gotten
think
an
they
initial
pay. I
fee
think they
from
usually
selling?
pay. I think they usually pay like a right to like, have it for like 2 years or something like that, and then if they want to extend it, they have to pay them
Mm-hmm.
more. But I
Mm-hmm.
guess technically maybe that could always, yeah. I think that's my understanding of it.
Okay. I need to look
Yeah.
into it still. But
Mm-hmm.
the lab, underrated company for sure. I
Yeah.
also don't think there are many units out there as
Mm-hmm.
well, so that's also very attractive, because
Mm-hmm.
once the stock price is low, all it takes is a little breeze
Mm-hmm.
to blow to send it to $2, and right now it's
Mm-hmm.
trading at what? Close price $1.20.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
not that bad. I need to actually do some more research in the lab,
Mm-hmm.
because what would it take to get this to 30%? How much does it need to go up to? $1.50? I need to bring up my calculator. What
$1.50,
did I
yeah,
say?
like, or we'll call it $1.60.
56. I call it 160.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time I traded at $1.60?
A good while now. It's been dropping a good while now.
Huh.
Yeah.
2024, maybe about a year ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One I would definitely watch, to be honest. The lab has
Mm-hmm.
not been on my radar, so we should probably
I
even do
don't
a
mind
tickers
that.
on the lab. Yeah, because we like that stuff. I'm actually gonna write the
Mm.
lab down.
I
Not
was even
bad,
thinking
Preston.
dollar.
I'm wondering about dollar.
Mm.
Let's move over to dollar, because
Mm-hmm.
the I am thinking dollar, because dollar is attractive at this price. Dollar closed today at $2.55. I
Mm-hmm.
actually nearly bought some dollar today.
Mm-hmm. I bought some recently,
Yeah, same. But I just
like
freed up some
two
more cash, but I'm wondering if
fifty
I
or
should
something.
buy.
I don't know. My thing is that the their shareholder meeting is coming up, and even look at, I remember that I think last year, because I think it was a shareholder meeting when maybe questions were asked about the whole, Ultra, how that business is doing and stuff. And then there was talks about them spinning it off. And then they were waiting. I think if they were to even spin it off and list it on the junior market, they would have wanted to wait for the junior market limit to be raised. And so now that that is now in place, if they were to want to spin the company off, then some of those things are in place. So I'm thinking that, hey, the shareholder meeting, I think they said it recently is like July or something like that, June or July. So
not sure.
I can probably check the exact date, but my thing is that if the next, this coming report that would report in the next 2 weeks or so, which would be their quarter one, so that'd be January, February, March, that'd be their first quarter with that, bond money on lent. So they would have lent it out, start earning interest on it. So I expect they may have like a good quarter there, like profits wise. And then,
but the only issue is their profits have decreased for the past couple quarters. That's the only thing.
It wasn't a couple. Well,
yeah,
the Q3 they had some issues there. I think Q4 did it decrease. But the thing is, I think Q4 would have had the quarter 4 would have had the higher cost related to the bond for that specific quarter. The quarter 3, I know they had issues, I think, with like burial and some of their loans and stuff like that. So I think that
I remember looking at the reports on some of their non-performing loans. Like the rates went up for people that defaulted on their loans.
It wasn't just them. I think it was just a lot of like I guess microfinance companies and such. Yeah. But I was just thinking that depending on they post some nice results. If questions are asked about this Ultra spin-off, the junior market limit, how that they feel about that. If there's another article that, hey, they're gonna something about spin-off, and they even say, hey, we're looking into, like, can I remember just like how Jamtees gave out like a timeline on the spin-off, and then if you look at like how the price reacted to that, people were like, hey, if I could possibly get shares in Ultra for owning shares in dollar, I want to buy dollar shares. So I think that could be a price movement. It could probably push it to at least $3, north of $3. So if it bites at 255 now, it goes to like 350 or so. That's like 37% or so. So you could sell it just below that.
I mean, it was trading at 350 a bit late last year, or 340s at least.
I think that was around the talks of the spin-off and stuff. And so now that was like before junior market limit get raised and such like that. So yeah, I think it could be one of those. It could
you would have to hit $3.32 to hit that 30% of $2.55. So if we're buying it at $2.55, it has to hit $3.32.
And I think it's one of those where if you look at like, the shareholders, I think MJE will defend the price of that. So it's like even your downside may be somewhat limited. And they don't necessarily want it to drop below a certain price.
Yeah.
So,
and it's funny how we had a talk about dollar before, and you're saying that they may not pay those heavy dividends like they used to, but they were paying almost quarterly dividends last year. It's only one quarter they didn't pay a dividend last year. Right. So I mean, their Q1 they paid a 4 cents dividend. That yield was 1.57%. Then they paid one in Q3, which was 2.3%. Then they paid another one, an interim dividend Q4, which was 8 cents. So, I mean, if it's a stock that people are looking towards for maybe like, because they paid one this year. They paid a dividend this year, yes. They paid a 12-cent dividend this year. Is it 12 cents? No, they paid at 0.12. Sorry, yeah. So I mean, 0.012. Sorry, dollars. So I mean, dollar, will it get to that high by the end of the year? It's quite possible. It's actually quite possible, especially if summer is good and we don't have another burial, and we don't have any significant natural disasters. It was almost $2 billion. It was $1.9 billion.
I think they'll probably raise money again this year.
You think they're definitely
gonna? Yeah, because they basically ran out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, if they can keep the non-performing loans low,
Mm-hmm.
definitely looking at another record profit for these next couple quarters. So that would look extremely nice. That would look extremely nice. I don't necessarily, so you made the point of them not paying dividends, but I feel like just based on who owns dollar, Barry likes his dividends. I guess we'll see. We will see. But I do feel like Barry does like his dividends, but they could raise more money. And I could see maybe refinancing it again. We will see.
They'll have to raise more money. It's not really a question of if, they'll have to.
Yeah.
I think they even said it. They're basically running out of money again and stuff.
Do you think they'll
that we may see a public
come to
bond.
the market?
Yeah, I think we may see a public, because they did a private bond last year. I was thinking they could maybe do a public bond.
Do you think it would be a bond, or do you think they'd do a secondary offering?
They could do that too. Yeah, they could do both. They could do both. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I don't know if 250 would move the needle, but yeah, I don't know. I could see them doing both, though. I could definitely see them doing both. If they do a rights issue, though, that would bingo. That would actually bingo. Because then at least they wouldn't have those interest payments. Because even their last bond, I need to actually look at that bond that they did. Because the payments, you remember what the interest rate was? 12% secured.
12. Oh.
Yeah, 12% secured notes. Imagine you get that 250 mil cash, and you don't have to worry about paying back or anything. Like, that's just yours to just play with. We'll see. We will see. Spinning off Ultra would also be nice too, because that would be more funds to them. So would you put dollar in your portfolio?
Just considering it. The only thing is that I'm still not sure which. I'm trying to remember, it's like, what are the other ones I've gone through so far?
You said Lab, you said Signia USD, you also said QWI.
I feel like I'd may put Signia in over dollar though, because Signia I think has this timeline. Maybe I go Signia, then I could double dip into dollar or something. Or anything like other stuff.
Fair.
You have any others?
Well, I mentioned Indies. And you also mentioned Indies. I did articles on Indies recently too. Indies
tomorrow.
What?
It drops tomorrow.
Oh, the tickers. Oh yeah, today is Thursday, May 1. Wow. Okay, yes. Indies traded up to $4 yesterday. Crazy. Crazy work. But today it closed at $3.52. So the problem with Indies is that 30% is only very much likely based on a really stellar report of the the
new drug
Regadenoson being sold in the US markets. 52. Let me see what that 30%. So you'd have to be looking at a price of $4.58.
Probably 5.
What?
Let's say 5 to be safe. Just say 5 to be safe, because you want to sell below that.
$4.50. Oh, you reach 5.
You don't want to be selling at the top.
I agree.
Because then, if you're selling at the top, like Admore wanted to say, if it can go 5, then me selling at 4.58 is safe.
Okay. So we'd need the stock to go 5, though. I mean, if you look in the tickers, you'll see why we think it can go to those heights, and so on. My only problem is when. Because there have been, even in the absence of the US stuff, in the Jamaican market, remember the delays in the ministry approving some of their drugs and so on. Those delays definitely will hinder me hitting my goal this year if I was just to bank on the local expansion. So,
but the thing is, their most recent quarter was still, I think profits were still up. Even without the... How much was it? I think profits are still up even without the
profits. 18%.
So even without that, they're showing that they can. They're one of those 18%. Yeah, revenue sales are up 11%. That was between November to January this year.
Next report is
the only thing is that
mid-June.
Their report, in terms of timeline, the report that would likely show the drug sales would be May, June, July report, which is their quarter 3.
Exactly.
So you wouldn't see that till August, maybe mid-September or so.
Yeah.
So then people would have to react to that. And then I guess it would be nicer if The thing is the quarter two reports, which would be February, March, April. I think that's one that they said they're going to be working on the drug. So maybe in that report they may talk more about the drug. Maybe say, hey, we've fully done this. This is going on. This is going on, and then we expect nice profits in May, June, July. But sometimes like it can take a while where like you sometimes have to see two reports or so before you start to see like the movement in the share price. And then so my thing would be the market may more move or react on the quarter four reports, but then that wouldn't be coming out, because they drop they drop quarter four separately. So that ends October, that'd be November, so mid-December.
Mid-December.
So that'd be
cutting it close.
Yeah.
You'd be banking on a Christmas present.
And
that's hoping the stock price doesn't move before that, though, because
it may move in anticipation of that, though. So it could be like because I don't know. The thing is, like, there's a lot of. I think it's just. I think that depending on what happens, like in terms of the press around it, like the press around it, because first Caribbean company to do this. They're selling drugs in the U.S. Like it could be kind of be made into like a big deal in terms of the paper and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there could be more news that makes people have a big expectation around that, and then it leads up, it rises in response to that.
I mean,
so
certain things that make me feel comfortable though in putting it in like an indices, the dividends. I like to also see when directors are buying, and if you look like a month ago or so, a director bought like 35 million shares. So that's always nice to see. And for me with them, it's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when. It's like, when will these things actually happen? When will the ministry approve these local drugs? When will sales start to ramp up in the US? Who is their distributor in the US as well? Like who are they partnering with to distribute these drugs in the US? Because it can't just be them. Like those are some of the questions Hey, the AGM's coming up, so we could probably talk or ask some questions at the AGM and see if we can get some reports, some information, something to, give us maybe a more clear timeline as these things, get closer. Because I don't know, if I have 100 grand and I'm really medding to put a significant stake into indies, I'd need to know that this is going somewhere for my timeline. By the end of the year, this is going to hit $5 for me to be able to say 30%.
So how would you? Because you said a lot. Like, how are you gonna split up your thing? So you've considered like how many stocks you're gonna put in it?
I'm not doing more than 3 stocks. Maybe 2, but I'm definitely not doing more than 3. I would probably. So it's tough, right? The stocks I would stick with, funny enough, are JSE, Indies, and Select MD. How would I split this up is the question. Select MD is the safest bet, but it's all about timelines. And I'm not sure if they can get it done by the end of the year. So I would probably go, my faith in Indies makes me want to choose Indies first. So I'd probably put 50% of my portfolio in Indies. Another 30% in the JSE and 20% in Select MD.
So why do you do 30 and 20?
Based on my confidence levels. So I'm more confident in Indies hitting the target, and
So why not put all of it in Indies?
Because I'm doing it. Now, if it were me, yes, I would put all of it in Indies. But I'm thinking of the Theon that only had 100K to play with. And I'm not buying off the IPO hype anymore. Like, I'm actually sitting, analyzing stocks on the market and saying, this is how I'm going to split up my portfolio and and that Theon would probably split it up something like this. So I would put in the stock that I'm most confident in, I'd probably just put half my entire portfolio in it. And that would be the Indies. Then I'd have to say, all right, which am I most confident in happening by the end of this year? And I'm more confident in the JSE hitting its target of 30% by the end of this year. And 30% of the JSE is what? What did you remember what we said? It's $12.08 it closed at.
I think you said 18?
Nah, 18 is me saying that's 50%.
15
so 15
$16 would send it to 30.
Is it six? No, I want the exact figures.
16.6, but I'm saying fees. So I'm just saying just a 30. 16.
Okay, fine. Oh yeah, we're not accounting for fees. We really should account for fees. So I need JSE to hit $16 by the end of the year. Select MD to just, delist and become my unit trust.
Remember, the shareholders have to approve it, bro.
I know. Trust, I know.
The shareholders have to approve it.
And but the shareholders will, bro. They can't go through all of this and go Supreme Court and all of this for the shareholders to not. You're mad. Anyways, it's possible, but highly unlikely. And I said indies. It's funny how I'm not talking about ISP when I'm also pretty confident about ISP, because that share price moves very easily. But I'll save that for another episode. So indies, I would go. I said 50%, and indies would have to hit. So we say in around. Let me include the fees.
Just say 5. As I said, just 5. No, just makes it easier.
I don't want to say 5. I want to say. All right, fine. I'll say 5. Whatever.
It's just easier to remember.
I'll do
50 to 5.
Yeah, and I think that's how I'm breaking it up. And 20% select MD.
For me, I think I don't know. I kind of want to take that risk and I just say Signia USD. So I'd buy it at, what price is that? If I buy it at 7 cents now, sell it at 9 cents. That's a 30. That's about 30%.
Okay.
And then once again, if they end up buying it June, like you made a 30% in 2 months.
Yeah.
And so you'd have the rest of the year to. You could just, you'd have put your money. You literally could say, and I have put my money in stocks. I can go do this. Or, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't even know what we're doing with this money. Is it to reinvest it? Is it to BRAF? Is it to, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know the goal. We just failed. I think this was a fun episode, to be honest. Are you actually going to just drop it in one stock, Signia USD?
Yeah.
It's like funny if them don't buy this back. This is going to be.
Well, wait, the question is, hold on. You really don't think they'll buy any shares at all
in the
until
US
the end of the year?
Until the end of the year,
bro. That's 8. We said 8 months. They haven't bought shares for almost 2 years.
I'm not confident, no.
Okay, bro.
It's possible, don't get me wrong. It's definitely
anything is possible, bro.
But I'm not going to take that risk on my entire portfolio. Like I would honestly do that for something else, but
for monkey money.
What?
As in for monkey money, you're saying?
No, as in, all right, I would have taken, meaning maybe if it was like at 20%,
but realize
30%.
Dan, remember, you could make your goal in under 2 months. You wouldn't need any more time.
I hear you.
You could
trust me.
I
hear you, but suppose you get stuck in Signia USD.
But once again, the amount of money. No, but that's the thing. Depending on the price you're getting it at. I have looked at the queue. I've looked at it. But depending on the price you're getting it at, bro, you could get out.
Suppose other people are thinking the exact same thing as you, and when that's don't
the risk,
pay,
bro.
them just dump it.
That's the risk. It's not a heavy. I don't think it's like a heavy retail stock.
Yeah, but you have to have the mindset that 100K is all you
hold on,
have,
if they dump it, that then incentivizes them to buy the company to buy shares, bro. The share and look at where the share price is in relation. All of the metrics, it's below that level. IPO, APO, all-time low. I'm not saying
no. But then your timeline, if it doesn't happen around this June timeline, your timeline now gets skewed because you're like, they could do it at any point in the year, but now you have no idea when they could do it.
Bro. They could do it in relation to, I think what this is that after their earnings, what they won't buy, I think leading up to their earnings or something like that, like some blackout period, and then they'll buy after that period. I don't know, or they could do it. As I said,
hold on.
If it works, bro, you're gonna call me. You're gonna call me and say,
I said no, but I'm just saying, I'm calling based on the fact that if this was your entire portfolio, you would not be doing that. You actually would not be doing that because that's a bit. I know your risk tolerance, and yes, your risk tolerance is high, but I don't know if it's that high. I don't know if it's that actually.
Once again, as I said, I don't view it as something as that because remember, even if this didn't happen, you'd still get my 4% dividend. So that what is your downside? So your upside is you could reach the 30% in under 2 months. Your downside is 4%.
Or you're not thinking of if they sell the stock, but fair. If they
Who
sell
sell
down the
the
stock,
stock? It's
the
already
retail
at
investors.
but Theon, then if you look at, oh my gosh, if you look at it, then if how much you realize if it drops even lower, right now it's like a 8% annualized dividend.
Mm-hmm.
So if it were to drop even lower, that's a 10% dividend. Where can you get a 10% dividend for US on the market, bro? And then once again, that's we should end the
You're right.
episode.
You're definitely right.
I'm
I'm
not
actually
convincing
looking.
anybody. You, as I said, if we will see how this ages, maybe your portfolio wins.
I could be very much wrong. And to be honest,
What we should do, guys,
I
drop a comment. Like, if someone
yeah,
is, I guess we're gonna drop. We say indices
I
this
want them to tell
tomorrow,
us their
and
portfolio.
then yeah, they should tell us theirs and
Yeah,
like
tell us your
percentage
picks in the
breakdown and
comment.
why and
Yeah,
why.
tell us your
And then
picks.
it'll be interesting to see how this ages.
Yeah,
Because if I end up being right, I want my props.
very true. I will give you your props. I'll definitely give you your props.
You need to if I'm right and it's early, like them all says June. We drop the episode June, the end of June. Say we have to do a follow up episode, and I say I can then do my then reinvest and say okay, I made my 100, I made this whatever percent, and then I can go into something else, and we can even check maybe at the end of the year who is up the most. Yeah,
True. We could do that. If we're doing it like that though, it's a bit. So if we're making a competition of it, it's a bit different. I would pick my stocks differently. Like I would
so
not
like
be
you're gonna
picking.
lose him. Say damn, I'm gonna
No,
lose.
no. Because here's the thing. I'm investing based on previous on Theon's mindset that I only have 100K. If I'm just trying to make the most money possible, I would invest completely differently. I would not be buying 3 different stocks. You and I both know that. You know, all my money would be in one stock. But I'm trying to do this episode based on just people that only have 100K. Maybe they're just
Say
starting their
only.
investment.
You're the man.
Yeah, to invest.
You're the man.
Facts. It does
Watch
sound like
rich.
it does sound that's true. We could even do a 10K episode or a 50K episode.
Yeah.
Right?
I was thinking 1 mil next.
Yeah,
Could
we
have
could do
100
1
mil.
mil too.
Could have 1 mil, could have 10 mil. I don't know, 10K? I don't know, 10K probably wouldn't be that much different. I'd say I'd probably want to do maybe the 1 mil and maybe the 10 mil.
Fair. Because my thing is, I mean, one thing I never really accounted for in this episode is mainly dividends, and that's because dividends don't really make as much sense when you don't have like millions in it. Like even right now, I don't invest in dividends because I just don't have that much money. Invest for dividends because my money's just not up there yet. But because if my portfolio is 100 grand, if you get as you said, a 10% dividend, yes, is 10 grand, but where you going to get that outside of Signia USD right now? So, I mean, but I think this episode was exciting still. I don't know what you guys thought. If you guys loved it, right, a subscribe would be excellent. If you just liked it, then just like it. I appreciate either one. Yeah.
If you're watching in 2026 or the end of 2025 and we got it wrong and all our stocks are down 50%, pray for us. But if we got it right, drop a comment, drop a like, say, yo, they got it.
Yeah. But yeah, these are some of our stocks to watch, I guess. All of these are to watch. So we'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Limitless out.
Peace.